Gyeongheo.
Nice to meet you, dear elite Buddhists. The topic of today's lecture is the monk lives with a leprosy woman for 10 days, which is about Gyeongheo venerable. There was a great Zen master named Gyeongheo, who was called the revival member of modern Korea Buddhism. It was one evening in 1898, a bitterly cold winter. The darkness subsided. The cold wind raged fiercely, and the snow fluttered. There was a person who hurriedly shook the door ring of the room for the highest spiritual leader of the Gyeongheo temple in Seothon. The young woman, who covered her face with a cloth and only slightly exposed her eyes, stood up in the bitter wind when Gyeongheo venerable, the highest spiritual leader of the Gyeongheo temple, opened the door and looked outside. A moment of silence flowed, and the woman opened her mouth.
Venerable, it's so cold that I'm freezing to death. So, please let me enter the room for a while.
Gyeongheo venerable let the woman enter the room without hesitation. But just in time, a young child monk who witnessed the scene rushed to the man Gong venerable, who was in the position of being in charge of the housekeeping of a temple, and told him everything. Man Gong venerable carefully went to the room for his teacher, Gyeongheo venerable, and checked it. What the young child monk's word was true. Gyeongheo venerable, who felt that a person was approaching, shouted in the room,
From today on, don't let anyone snoop around my room. Bring the table for each meal, but leave it in front of the door.
After a day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10 days, Gyeongheo temple was in panic. They said that they could no longer be left her as she is like this, and eventually the public decided to expel the woman from the Gyeongheo. Dozens of people gathered at the door of Gyeongheo venerable's room. Finally, the door was opened, and a woman with her face wrapped in a cloth appeared in front of people. After a while, she slowly peeled off the cloth that wrapped around her face. Her whole face was crumbled up in place and giving off a bad smell. She was a leprosy patient. She quietly turned around and had a prostration to Gyeongheo venerable, who was in the room, and said,
I will never forget this grace, even after I die. Thank you so much for treating me like this as a human being.
After saying this, she left Gyeongheo temple with a lot of tears in her eyes. It was only then that many people who watched this realized what they were doing. Then they fell down and repented. Since then, Gyeongheo venerable has suffered badly from skin disease. Dear Buddhists, we often use the term mercy, but the acts of mercy like this shown by the Gyeongheo venerable is very rare. This pure acts of mercy, which melts the discernment of dirty and clean, overshadows all kinds of words such as precious and holy.
Gyeongheo.